Do you want to become a talk show host? Do you have a great idea? Passionate World Talk Radio is currently looking for podcast hosts for our Internet Talk radio station. Please email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com with your name, email address, cell phone number, and podcast topic. In return, you will receive a 3-minute intro on air to a live audience about your podcast. Remember, just email us your name, email address, and your podcast topic, and in return, you will receive a free 3-minute intro on the air. How cool is that? Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hi, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not be those of the host or the station, and I want to thank Jeannie White, station manager, for producing the show and running the blog. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Folks, do you have trouble with resiliency? Do you know what being resilient means? Well, I have a very special guest with me today. I am so honored to have with me Alanna Fincke, who is Senior Vice President of Director of Content at meQuilibrium. Alanna is a health and well-being expert and a health coach. Welcome, Alanna, and you could add anything else you'd like to add. This is your bio.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I am a resilience expert. I get to teach and train people all around the world in the skills and science of resilience. I feel privileged to do that. And I am also a board-certified health coach, as you mentioned, which is the highest level of certification you can have for health coaching, and I have special training in integrative medicine. So I know a lot about both Eastern and Western medicine.
Oh, that is fantastic. Alanna, you know as well as I do that today, especially in the pandemic that we had and just the crisis that's going on, that we need to be resilient. And I have a large caregiving audience. So can you please tell us, how does one be resilient when things are constantly changing or you're going through some kind of a crisis?
Yeah, it's such a great question and such a great topic to dig into. So I'll start by defining resilience so people can understand what it is, because a lot of us have ideas and thoughts about what it is, but actually resilience has been researched for over 25 years, and it's based and it's sort of born out of psychology and positive psychology. So resilience, a lot of us think resilience is that grit to get through, right? That grit to get through the tough stuff. It is that. It's that, but it's more. It's our ability, yes, to bounce back from challenge, but it's also our ability to move forward and thrive in our lives. And a lot of people also think resilience is something you're either born with or not born with. I just can't handle that kind of thing. But it's actually a learnable set of skills that anybody can learn at any point. And I'll share a few with you today. We like to say at meQuilibrium, it's a state, not a trait, resilience.
Excellent. I would love to hear it. I belong to a lot of support groups. I had a support group, and I would love to hear what you have to say about being resilient, because this is something that caregivers, anyone, but I find with myself, I was a caregiver, on how to be, flexible and how to keep your mindset during a time of crisis.
Yeah, no, it's great. So one of the things about our brains that happen is that we do not like uncertainty. Our brains do not like uncertainty. Our brains are sort of like habit machines, and when we don't know what to expect and we don't know what's going to happen, that's actually uncertainty is one of the top human stressors of all time for us, because we like to be planning machines. So already, everything we've been through in the last 14 months is already going to be a challenge for us just based on that, because there's been so much uncertainty and so much change. And add on to that, like you said, for the caregivers, they've got an extra large dose on top of that. So how resilience can come in and help is in a number of ways. Number one, what we can really learn from resilience is how to manage our stress, which is really about managing our emotions. So I can dive into that one first, if you'd like.
Yes, that's very important.
Yes.
I need to hear it myself.
Yes, everybody does. So the thing about our brains is that we are actually wired to feel and experience negative emotions more quickly and easily than positive emotions, which you may have heard. It's because when we were being chased by lions and tigers and bears and saber-toothed tigers, it allowed us to spot a threat and run and survive, right? We don't need that capacity today so much, but we are still wired that way nonetheless. So we're wired to experience anxiety, sadness, anger, frustration, all those feelings more easily than happiness or contentment. And we experience all of these emotions throughout the course of our lives, but we experience one more quickly and easily than others. And we like to call that our emotion radar. I don't know about you, if you know yours, but I definitely know mine. I know how I scan the world. I'm an anxiety person. I'm always kind of worried about what could happen and what might happen. And I scan the world looking for that, yeah? Mm-hmm.
Me too. Yes.
Yes. And for many of us, even if we weren't sort of anxiety people throughout the pandemic, that's a major anxiety spiker. Many of us are walking around just so worried about what could and would and might happen next. And that causes us a lot of stress. Now, a lot of times we walk around and we're like, I'm stressed. How are you doing today? I'm stressed. But underneath that stress, we're feeling a negative emotion. We're feeling anxiety, or feeling sadness, or we're feeling frustration or anger or shame or embarrassment or guilt. So really, it's important to make sure we pause for a moment when we start to feel stressed and try to take a moment, take a deep breath and say, okay, wait, what am I feeling now, right? Like something's going on here. It's really important to do that, because oftentimes we'll just walk around and kind of just keep that stuff kind of stuffed down, right?
Yeah, yes, very true. I love what you're saying.
Yeah, so I can keep going. The science is also really clear that our thoughts drive our emotions and our behavior. So if we want to change stressing about the unknowns, worrying about our parents or children or whoever we're sort of caregiving for, or worrying about that project at work or what have you, if we want to change any of that, we've got to start with our thoughts. And resilience can really help us do that. I want to ask you a question. How many thoughts on average do you think we have per day? 1,000?
Oh,
10,000?
I heard the answer to that.
Okay.
I'm going to say like 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you already know the answer. We have, on average, 60,000 thoughts a day. Every single person has, on average, 60,000 thoughts a day. Now, some are conscious, some are unconscious, but 60,000. And 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday, the same thoughts you had the day before, the week before, the month before, the year before. 90% of our thoughts are the same day to day, and 85% of those thoughts are negative. So Let's walk back that logic for a sec. If 90% of our thoughts are the same day to day and 85% are negative, and our thoughts drive our emotions, and our emotions drive our behavior, and our behavior drives our choices, and our choices drives our reality, if we want to change anything, we've got to start with our thoughts. So that's what really drives our stress. So when we start to pause, like I said before, when you pause and kind of tune in and say, like, okay, I'm stressed, and you take that deep breath, and you're like, okay, well, wait, oh, I'm feeling kind of anxious. I'm feeling that, like, tightness of anxiety. Or maybe you're feeling that heavy weight of sadness. Or maybe you're feeling that heat of anger. You want to pause and tune in, and then we call that trap it. We call this technique trap it, map it, zap it. So we call that trapping it, trapping your emotion. And then you want to map it to the thought. So what am I thinking? Oh, man, I'm so worried about my parents. They're not doing well. I haven't been able to see them, all this. So we want to map it to that thought. And then you want to zap that thought. You want to reframe it to serve you better. Because oftentimes we'll go from 0 to 100 or A all the way to Z, and we can reframe. We can rewrite that thought to help us better manage our stress and serve us better and be a little bit more realistic. So, okay, things are hard now. But guess what? I've gotten by the last 14 months pretty well. So has my whole family. So we're going to figure this out and be okay. So trap it, map it, zap it. Really great technique. Trap that emotion, map it to the thought, and zap that thought. Rewrite it to serve you better.
Trap it, map it, and zap it.
That's right.
Good, right? I'm writing it down because I have to remind myself this is for me. I have to write down, folks, because I'm writing this down because I have to remind myself because, you know what, Alanna, when I do a podcast, I mean, I have become very educated and enlightened by my wonderful guests. I'm learning. So when I have a guest on, sometimes it's a selfish motive and it's something that I want to know.
Well, that's as good as as any. So,
that's great.
Yeah, and this technique is sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me. How does someone? I have to ask you this because I'm really curious about it. Like in my situation, I'm no longer a caregiver to my husband. He died last year. But my body sometimes is in that high adrenaline mode. It hasn't caught up to my brain. I know in my brain I'm not a caregiver to my husband, but my body sometimes is saying something else. How do you catch up with the two?
Yeah, you really hit on something really important around making sure, that's when you're sort of in that stress mode, that fight or flight. You're in that sort of heightened mode, and we really need to make sure as caregivers that we're practicing self-care.
Yes.
And self-care is not a bubble bath twice a year or even once a month or a massage you treat yourself to. That is not, sure, that's nice, but that's not really, self-care isn't a luxury you give yourself, a couple times a year, something you grant yourself after you finished everything on your list and then you never finish everything on your list. That's not self-care. Self-care is a necessity that we must practice in small ways throughout the course of our days and the course of our life. It's like, think of your energy like a gas tank in a car. And if you run on empty, that's when you get burnout. And after burnout comes a whole host of other more serious physical issues. So we've got to refill your tank. You've got to gas up your tank. You can't just deplete. Caregivers do that. Caregivers are used to running like that themselves last, and they treat themselves like machines, and they have no boundaries, and they think they don't need, so we got to make sure we are practicing self-care. And I definitely have some opinions and techniques around that.
Oh, I loved what you just said, Alanna. Like, I wish I could just reach in and hug you because it is so true. Like I tell my support group, I have a support group, we're running on adrenaline fumes at times. That's not good. And push ourselves into exhaustion. I know, because I've been there, and we do need, I know, as a caregiver, I said the same thing. I hear it all the time. I don't have time. And I say you must make the time. Self-care is not optional. It's a matter of life and death, really. That's how I see it. To make it through a journey, caregiving journey, you have to take care of yourself, or you won't make it. And I would like to hear some of your self-care tips, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you, this comes from a place of experience. I'll share that I am a breast cancer survivor. I'm 2 years survivor as of last month. And 2 years ago, I was the picture of health and success on the outside, working a great job that I love, eating Mediterranean diet, exercising, all the things. But on the inside, I really felt like things were falling apart. I pushed myself constantly. I'm a mom to 2 kids, work full time, was traveling a lot for work, at that time. But more than just the busyness, I put myself last on the list. I'm a type A driven perfectionist, and I kept moving the goalposts in my life and moving and moving and moving. I treated myself like a machine, and then I got diagnosed with breast cancer, and I had to change. It was a massive wake-up call. It was a siren song. I'll never know exactly why I got breast cancer. There's no history of cancer in my family on either side, and but I think my stress level had something to do with it. I'm constantly inflamed. When your body is constantly in inflammation, you are more prone, if you have weakness in a particular area, to that. So who knows if that is why, but it was a wake-up call for me. And that began, for me, a real journey to prioritizing my self-care. And I really have. Yeah.
Wow. I admire you, Alanna, and I, hope you stay in good health, and congratulations on being a survivor. I just actually read a book about the cancer survivorship. I'm going to interview the author in a couple of weeks about that. So, that's true. Stress does inflame. I know I have stress-induced asthma as a result of my stress of caregiving. It came out that way. And it's so important to take care of your body mentally, physically, emotionally, on all levels.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very important, because they're proving more and more science that stress is causing a lot of physical and mental problems.
That's right.
And I just, tell the audience, if you have any stress that you can't handle, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, please consult your physician for resources. I just want to put that out there.
Right.
There's plenty of resources out there, and your doctor can tell you which ones are available in your area. And also, Alanna, the thought process. We have constant negative thoughts causing us stress. It's going to make us ill. So we have to change our thought process to begin with. That's right. Really, mainly it. And it's very hard to change.
It is.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's really foundational. So the foundation is really getting that stress under control. And when you can practice that trap it, map it, zap it technique, you can do that 20, 30 times per day. Like, seriously, anytime you here's my anxiety, what am I thinking? And then reframing it and getting on your way. And then it's not going to get the best of you. You are back in control. You are back in the driver's seat and not feeling, we all feel like stress happens to us, but stress is our reaction to the things that happen to us. And we have a high measure of control over that. And trap it, map it, zap it gives us that control back. So that's really foundational. And then we get to sort of tactical things around self-care. And for that, I love to use something I call an energy jar. And if I had a video, I would show you what I'm holding right now. But anyone can do this. You find a jar, an old ball jar or a jam jar or whatever, and you put about 60 pieces in it. Maybe it's beads or paper clips. I use Legos because my son was obsessed with Legos for years, and I have millions laying around my house. But you put about 60 pieces in the jar, and you set it on your desk or in your kitchen, wherever you spend the most time. And anything you do that is energy out, you remove 5 pieces. And anything you do that's energy in, you put 5 pieces in. And these 60 pieces are what you have for the day. And I'm sure when these caregivers start working their energy jar, they will see that for many of us, we haven't even reached our first meeting at 9 a.m. for those of us that are working, or maybe our first break at noon. We haven't even reached that, and our jar is empty.
Yeah.
Checking your phone first thing in the morning, dealing with the stressor of kids and parents and husbands, bill paying, all that happens before even 9 a.m. And then, all those stressors piled on top from the pandemic, from racial injustices, financial insecurities, our work meetings, back-to-back Zooms for those of us that are on, what have you. If we don't manage and put energy back into our tank, you're running on empty for days, weeks, months, for many of us, years on end. And that's what's causing the physical health problem. So a great way to track your energy and to track your self-care is to use something like an energy jar. You can hear it rattling there, and tracking your energy out and your energy in. Because that's really important. That's going to get you to commit to making a self-care practice. And that's what it is. And for so many of us, it's like, I got to make over my fridge, I got to meal prep, I got to meditate every day and exercise. And it just feels so overwhelming, and we don't even start, right? But one little tiny self-care practice actually makes a difference in your life and across your life. In meQuilibrium, we found that making one change in one part of your life, I call this the self-care halo effect, has a positive effect across our life. When you start walking 5 minutes a day, you start sleeping better, you're feeling less pain, and your stress is reduced. So these small changes we make have a very large impact. So taking 3 deep breaths in between meetings or after a stressful interaction, or meditating for 2 minutes in the morning, taking deep breathing, a gratitude journal, all of these little things count and they matter. So, yeah, they're big. The small things are big.
Yes. I love what you're saying, Alanna. I've learned so much, when I was caregiving, and I'm still doing it now, where I wake up and I say to myself, it's going to be a great day. What am I thankful for today? We can't control what will happen to us or, our loved ones, but we can't control how we react. And I think, there lies the key, is our reaction. I want to thank you for coming on, Alanna, on Chatting with Betsy. I would love for you to come on another time, because there's so much, we could discuss. Yeah. How does someone get in touch with you? Do you coach people one-to-one, or does your company?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
People on the side. I work at meQuilibrium, which is an amazing, amazing product that can help you manage your stress and build your resilience. But it is sold, we are a B2B solution, so we're sold into large companies and offered as a free benefit to users, so to employees. So that's how meQuilibrium works. We do have a website, meQuilibrium.com, where you can learn more, and we also have a great blog on there with lots of information. But I'm also a coach, and I coach people on the side, and you can find me at alannafincke.com, my name, and learn more about me there. And also, I'm a big fan of Instagram, so I'm Wellbeing with Alanna on Instagram if you are on Instagram and would like to connect.
Oh, great. Thank you, Alanna. I think, people need to be learn to be resilient. And, I always say I go with the flow. My dad used to say, I didn't understand at the time when I was a child. I do now. He used to say, Betsy, you have to roll with the punches.
That's right.
You know, if you don't learn to go with the flow of things in life, you're just going to cause more stress on yourself. But, folks, I would definitely look into Alanna's website, the company she works for. Is this also available international, Alanna?
Yeah, meQuilibrium is available internationally. We're translated into, I believe, 14 or more languages right now. So we are available across the world in many languages. It's an amazing, I have to say, you know, I had to put my resilient skills to the test, you know, with my health crisis. And it's just an amazingly impactful product, and I just believe so wholeheartedly in it because I know how much it supported me, and I get to teach and train people all over the world, and I see what a difference it can make. So I can't tout it enough.
Oh, thank you, Alanna. And this station is international. That's why I asked if someone, you know, overseas can use your, you know, website, or, you know, you can, they could contact you from overseas. I want to encourage everyone to check out meQuilibrium. Well, I'm not saying it right, but and read the blog, folks. Please read the blog, which has a lot of information. And Alanna Fincke, I want to thank you again for coming on Chatting with Betsy. I'd love for you to come on again. We need this.
Yeah. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We need this now more than ever, folks. I tell you what, being a caregiver has really taught me such a roll with the punches. And I give my father, Howard Wurzel, he's the one who told me that. Credit, that's for you, Dad. You just really need to go with the flow. But I really want to say that May, I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, but really we should be aware of our mental health every day. Everyone's fighting some kind of a battle, so please be kind, folks. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with seeking professional medical or mental health. If you need counseling, please go. There are resources all over. Here in New Jersey, where I live, there's a lot. You could call 211 for resources in New Jersey only. And, you know, just ask your physician, your insurance company, where you can go. But please get the help that you need, because you are worth it. And you have to believe that you are worth it. I go for counseling. I went for counseling, and I'm not ashamed to say it. We all need help at some time in our lives. And when you are faced with a adversity, death of a loved one, an illness that you might have, a crisis, we all need help. And it's not a sign of weakness going for help. It's actually a sign of strength. So I want to encourage the audience to about that. I do it all the time. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's how passionate I am. I am a mental health advocate also. So I really believe in it. Folks, if you missed any of this podcast, you could catch it again. Chatting with Betsy is on your favorite podcast, Google, Apple, Amazon Music, just to name some examples. And please subscribe. It's for free. And please rate my show. And I just want to provide resources for people to help. And please share this podcast to help others. Thank you very much for listening. And I just want to say be kind, everybody, and be safe. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy, a Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Bye-bye, everybody.
Do you want to become a talk show host? Do you have a great idea? Passionate World Talk Radio is currently looking for podcast hosts for our Internet Talk Radio station. Please email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com with your name, email address, cell phone number, and podcast topic. In return, you will receive a 3-minute intro on air to a live audience about your podcast. Remember, just email us your name, email address, and your podcast topic, and in return, you will receive a free 3-minute intro on the air. How cool is that? Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Alexa, AMFM247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.